certain point of view, it's not complete the immortal M series ever.
I think it's definitely pretty spicy. There's just so many storylines to follow right now. So many teams, so many interactions between players. I mean, just all over the map. I feel like you could look at every team and paint a storyline for them to succeed through into knockout, into possibly getting a championship run.
Yeah. From North America to Turkey to China to the powerhouses in Southeast Asia, they are either in the great mission to redeem or to just right the wrong in the past. For you, Husky, is there a storyline other than the Malaysian storyline, all right? Other than the Malaysian storyline that you have your eyes set on?
I think the one that I'm looking forward to is RRQ in particular because, again, when they were here in M1, they fell to EVOs in that grand finals. And now they're back here in M6. They could be the one to kind of finish what they started 4 years ago. So that's the storyline that I think not just me, but a lot of Indonesian fans are also looking forward to.
Trex, any other storylines you want to dip your toes in?
You know, me not being a Southeast Asia guy, it's definitely Team Spirit, Ulfidnar, BTK for me. These are these are three teams that I think a lot of us have our eyes on. Ulfidnar never being able to break a top 8 when they were Fireflux, never being able to break a top 8 when they were Incendio Supremacy, but still making it so close. And then Team Spirit with their insane run last year, and BTK bringing the comeback. So I mean, these are non-C regions that we're hoping maybe we see something great from this year.
Yeah, if you are a first-time viewer of MLBB Esports, Southeast Asia has dominated for the longest time. But here in M6, we have new regions popping up. Of course, as Trex mentioned, NA, Turkey, EECA, a lot of eyes on them to excel. There's a lot more stories we're going to be sharing with you and learning more about as M6 goes on. There is definitely a lot of star players you have to keep your eyes out on. So make sure you listen in very closely to see all of the links that we have. Going back once again, it is Swiss for the first time ever, best of ones, and we're going to be getting 8 of them today. But compared to different Swiss stages, it's not all going to be best of one. As we go a little bit later into the tournament, we start to see all the more familiar best of 3s. But it's gonna take a while. To keep it simple, win 3, you advance, lose 3, you get eliminated. This is historical for us as we look at all the best of ones we're gonna be getting in today. One by one, what are you most excited for? You can say SRG.
I think a lot. Even you would expect me to say SRG, Vamos, but you know what? I'm going to go out on a lip. I am personally looking forward to KBG against RRQ.
Oh.
Right? We talk about storylines we're all looking forward to. We forgot to mention the Chinese region, right? Like Tianfeng Yaoguai during the wildcards gave us hell of a performance, almost took it out Offerna, and right now KBG, who are the first seed from that region, it's up to them.
You know, I like it. I think the best thing about Swiss, we're finally going to get to see the cream rise to the top, right? There's no excuses about bad group or this team could have made it out if they were in a different group or this or that. Only the best will make it out of this. Only the best will succeed in getting those 3 wins, going to the knockout stage, and proving themselves with the other 8 teams. And that's what I think I'm most excited for as we move through this Swiss. Plus, there's just a lot of games to watch.
There is a lot. So the schedule is going to be popping up in just a bit, and we're going to be talking about that. Remember, folks, we are on a rolling schedule. So as soon as the previous match ends, it could start up all over again much quicker, so make sure you are locked in. S2G versus SRG is coming up, BTK versus Ulfidnar, CFU versus NIP Flash, and Maycam Evolve versus Team Spirit. While for the second half of the day, we have Twisted Minds, Vamos, Falcon, and Aurora, KBG versus RRQ, and the big one that a lot of people have their eyes on, that we're waiting for, the Clash of Titans in Fnatic Onyx Philippines versus TLID. Before we talk a little bit more about S2G versus SRG, why the heck are people really hyped up about FNOP and TLID?
I mean, you have 2 champions, and I mean, as far back as we go, it's ID Philippines, man, you know? And whether we all put Philippines at the top of the pedestal, they're the reigning champions for multiple years. But there's a lot of people out there that always want to see those champions get toppled, and there's a lot of Indonesians out there that have faith that TLID can maybe do it. Can they, though?
I think there's a good chance they do it, but you know, I'm interested in the aftermath, right? Because we always have the Swiss draw right after the day ends.
Oh,
and I want to see which team gets the loser of that bracket for day number 2. That is going to be devastating on paper.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the reasons why we went Swiss, to get unexpected results, surprising outcomes. And about the Swiss stage, I believe Coach Ozor Ravecki, the analyst of SRG, mentioned something about this. He says, after winning MSC, the pressure and expectations only grew. MPLMY Season 14 was the first hurdle. We were expected to perform clean sweep and be the grand finalist. The pressure felt really different, but knowing that I'm surrounded by a lot of capable talents, I don't feel alone. It's not just about the Swiss stage, it's actually his feelings heading into M6.
Yeah, I think there's even kind of a permutation, right? Like Doctor Strange, 1 in a million chance that SRG wasn't going to make it to M6. A lot of people were looking at Todak. Todak beat SRG in the upper bracket during playoffs. So people were started to cast some doubts onto SRG, but I'm glad that they were able to recover, and I'm glad that they took some losses, because it really lifted the pressure of that perfect run.
Yeah, I think there's a thin line between having fun competing and when that pressure starts to build, right? I think before that, they weren't champions, right? They didn't win MSC. They were winning games, having fun, enjoying themselves, and now it's all eyes on SRG, right?
Yeah.
The whole world is judging every movement they make and how they're gonna perform here. You know, before, if they perform bad, nobody would bat an eyelash. This time, if they perform bad, the chats are gonna be out of this world.
Yeah, Selangor Red Giants, a team that at one point, not at one point, leading to their MSC win earlier this year, did not drop a series. And that win streak extended a little bit further after that into SPS. More into the continuation of that story later on. As we now into the squad of S2G from Turkey, who have made a new name for themselves as the new Turkish Kings. Anything that you want to share about S2G, folks, that impressed you about the squad?
You know, S2G, Turkey coming in the past, it was always Fireflux, right? It was always Ulfid Nar. But we do have a little bit of a quote coming from Pio Villain. 1 month before MTC, I joined S2G and was announced during the transfer window as part of the strategy. I brought Filipino and Malaysian gameplay to the team, and I can say that Turkish teams are quick to adapt. In terms of gameplay, they're not far behind Malaysian teams. I'm proud that 2 Turkish teams made it to M6, and that's, I mean, I think my question for S2G is this, is where do they stand right now? Are they really that far ahead of Ulfid Nar? They didn't just beat Ulfid Nar, they 4-2'd them. It didn't go the distance. Ulfid Nar won 2 games and S2G just cleaned things up, which means where do they stand on the pedestal against all of these other teams?
Yeah, and I think on top of that, it also comes down, I feel like there's a parallel between the Turkish region and the Chinese region, where you have sort of this expectation, right? If your second seeded team is already that good, how much better is the first seeded team? And especially when you have Coach Pao Villain, who has been in multiple regions and now bringing that flavor to the Turkish.
Yeah, and in the Filipino perspective, actually, there's a lot of us who hold the Turkish region in high regard, especially Ulfid Nar. So any team that gets to beat that, the point that you made, the fact that they 4-2'd then Fireflux, that means something, that it cannot just be that this team got lucky, made it into M6. It's the long-time kings of the Turkish region finally getting felled by familiar faces. 2 members in S2G are actually part of the first Fireflux roster that won MTC Season 1. So there's championship DNA in that too. But based off of what we've seen from S2G leading into this, especially in the Turkey Championship, Husky, you feel like they could scare a lot of Malaysians and SRG today? Could they potentially pull off and open up M6 with a major upset?
It's something that I don't hope for to happen, but I would be glad if it does, because I think that would be the best way to kind of set the tone for what Swiss Stage is.
And to set the tone, let's welcome in the teams. Of course, we were talking about them, so let's talk about them a little bit more. It's S2G, the new Turkish Kings.
All right, so we got Sigibum in the goal lane, Pagu as the roam, Begin in the mid, Kazue as the jungle, and Lunar as the EXP. Now, the players that I really have my eyes on, Siggy Bum, he's in the gold, but for him to really be able to pop off, we're gonna need to see that mid duo really do their thing, and that's Kazue and Pagu. Now, everyone normally has their eyes on Begin. Everyone normally has their eyes on Siggy Bum, but I think in this game, we really need Pagu to do his thing, right? We really need Pagu to be able to create those moments that Begin and Siggy Bum in these team fights can actually capitalize. And because Pagu kind of goes unnoticed sometimes, I need him to shine in these games if they're going to be able to win out in this best of one.
Help out Siggy Bum go into Siggy Boom mode, into that MVP Grand Finals form that he showed in Turkey. And of course, their opponents, I mean, we are in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, so make some noise for SRG, Innocent, Yume, Stormy, Sekais, and Cram.
Absolutely, you got the half-man, half-beast, Innocent, Season 13 Finals MVP. You got Season 14 Finals MVP, Stormy, but just like what Trek said, he's looking at the mid-trio. I'm also looking at the mid-trio of Yumes, Sekais, and Stormy. The side lanes are self-sufficient. We've seen Sekais go through a transformation, taking the title of Sky Prince, but right now, it's not just about Sekais, it's about Stormy and Yumes by his side to enable this Sky Prince to take the throne once more.
I like that you're highlighting Yumes here, man. The only player with 4 MPL Malaysia titles under his belt. On paper, he is easily the most decorated Malaysian player that's active right now, and this is also his 3rd M Series. Can he better his best rank at 5th to 6th at M3? I just want to say I'm surprised. I didn't know that Innocent had that name. Did you? Is this the first time you heard that? Half man, half beast?
That is actually the first time I heard that, and I like it. I like it a lot. Are we going to see him go beast mode, though? Do we think this is just easy GG's, Husky?
If the Roger is in meta, then yes, right? He got the moniker half-man, half-beast because of his Roger performance in Season 13, where it was a perma-ban against Innocent. He gets Roger, the game is over in under 15 minutes.
But we gotta admit, it's a different meta now.
It's a different meta now.
Yeah, it's very different. So we're giving away some great stuff for you for the MLBB Rising Open. You know what? Just go ahead and don't scan it yet. Don't scan it yet. We're not done scanning it. Now you can scan it. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead, please. That's the redeem code as well. It can only be redeemed 1 time per person. M6 World Championship, of course, we're going to be giving away goodies. We're about to start your draft, so let's talk about the meta. Let's start off with you, Husky. What's 1 or 2 picks that you're looking out for here that might be prioritized?
Prioritized, I think, first of all, it's definitely the Zusin. Zusin is going to be prioritized for sure. Nolan Suyo.
Nolan Suyo. What about you, Trex?
I don't think the Juicin's going to make it onto the pick table. I don't think the Juicin's going to make it on the pick table. I think Cho may be a big pick, but he might also not make it. Yves, another possibility, but that's another one always getting banned out. Some things that might actually slip through. Hilda's been a big one. Suyo might actually slip through because it's something that hasn't been getting picked up as much, but we are in Swiss stage right now. This is not wild card. These are the big dogs, and as we see in every M series, the meta changes as we move forward.
Because he has been getting more and more popular. We have seen in wild cards that Chip sometimes kind of slip through the draft as well, and he has been utilized by a couple of teams. But so far, I mean, we're seeing that Hilda ban, the Fanny ban is a lot of respect from S2G to SRG Sekais. I do wonder if they are going to trade that Khalid for Phovis, though. The Phovis hasn't had the best win rate during wildcards.
Yeah, with Alpha out, Phovius Rush on the side of S2G might actually sound good. But you definitely should take the Matilda away from SRG, right?
One of the few pioneers, the Matilda Meister 5-star Yumes Express with that hero. Back in Season 9, when he pulled that out, he instantly became known for it, and people have been really keeping a lot of eyes on that Matilda.
So Cho's still open, Nolan's still open, plenty of junglers. I don't think we prio jungle up front. I like the idea of EXP or Roam, Matilda being open, but I feel like S2G maybe, or SRG, want to be a bit more aggressive here. It is a best of one. You want to try to catch them off guard, and that's where I think the Cho could come in clutch. They go for the Suyo though, so they do prio jungle right up front.
I feel like that's a rough trade to take against SRG because you're giving away the Cho to Yumes. And Suyo has fallen out of the grape, based off of what the grapevine has said, that he's been fallen out of priority. But even SRG's going, you know what, we don't need the Cho right away. Let's get a Gacha and get Stormy on his signature Valentina.
Yeah, signature Valentina. We're going to get a Valentina merch next season as well because he did pick it as his hero to go to. But I do like the Gatot Gacha. Very durable against physical damage dealers and at the same time has very reliable crowd control, right? Suyo gets in front of his face, he's going to get crowd control and the follow-up will be there.
Okay, so they got to pick up the gold lane here, right? The Bruno's smart, and that forces the side of SRG to possibly pick up a gold lane next as well, or they get banned out, right? You start taking out gold laners in this second phase of bans, but still, on the side of S2G, with the Matilda now, with the Suyo, you have speed, you have a movement, you have rotations, you have an aggressive mid-game right there, a big power spike around third turtle that can definitely cause some damage. So how does SRG try to counteract that?
You know what? Harith is still open. Put it in the hands of Innocent. Get that other gold laner who scales up super freaking fast.
Nathan, I believe that's how you call him. We call him Nathan here. Either way, he had that late game insurance.
Natan's the right way.
Natan's the right way.
It's
All right.
just dumb. It's just the PH casters that say Nathan.
So Natan's the right way. He always has Claude as well for Innocent if they really want to play it safe. So they take the Joy. This is, I don't think we've seen guys play Joy ever. Not in recent times, right? Not in recent times, no. Not in the previous season, not during MSC for sure, not during season 13, so it's been a long, long time. So it's something that I don't think we have seen before.
Okay, so let's be real. How deep does SRG's gold lane pool go here? Is it even actually worth for S2G to ban, like, maybe the Harith? But what after that? Beatrix, we've seen a little bit of that in the wild card. Could be options. Claude also got the recent buff. We didn't see a lot in wild card, but I still think in the hands of some of the more veteran players, it can definitely show. Phoveus ban on the side of SRG, back over to S2G now.
Yeah, good ban there on the Harith, taking it away. So now, little by little, SRG might think about the two marksmen that can handle the map a little bit more, the Moskov and the Claude, considering that, as you mentioned, Trex, it is super aggressive, the lineup of S2G. This is a best of one Swiss stage draft priority. So if SRG decides to go for the more macro slower route, do you think that's going to come back to bite them, Husky?
Letting the macro route is what SRG is very comfortable with, but I do feel like it's not going to completely come back and bite them in the backside. There are some merits to how SRG can kind of drag the game out, then push them in a comfortable position. I'm more worried about what's going to happen in that goal lane, right? Because SRG with the Phoveus ban and followed by the Vexana, it kind of feels like that this Gatot might go into XP, but because it's a big flex, S2G now have to really decide how do they shut SRG's kind of flex down. The Cho is still open.
Cho is still open. I think that's a big pick for SRG. Very possible here. S2G looking for this next ban. And like I said, do we just hammer in? Cho actually could be a really solid ban here. I'm taking it out. Because Beatrix, are you really that worried? There's the Cho ban. So now first pick for SRG. I think they save gold lane here. They think so. They push gold lane into last pick and they go into Roam or EXP lane.
A part of me is thinking that maybe SRG might go the other way around because picking Gatot first phase, you don't actually see the XP matchup yet. As an outsider, you get time.
When I give the word.
But you know what? Nah. Yeah, let's go with what Trex said. You go gold lane into the last, and then you go Khalid now. Well, not a lot can actually beat the Khalid.
I think we get an Aurora on the side of S2G here.
Oh, that would be perfect. I agree.
Aurora would help round things out. It's going to be hard, though, to catch some of the fast pacing, to catch a Khalid, to catch the jungler of SRG, but still, it's solid.
Yeah, as much as S2G's draft, at least the first 3 picks is about going fast and going into your face. SRG have a good draft to kind of create this vacuum, right? You want to come right in, we can shut you down with a good backline dice, with a very great crowd control. So that's something I think S2G needs to think about as well with this mid pick. Now that Vexana isn't there, I think I agree with Trex. Aurora feels like a solid one.
Aurora and anyone who can catch or anyone who can front. A Ruby EXP might not be the best, but
I like it. I like it.
Oh,
we actually called it.
I like it.
We're on a roll today.
Here's the thing with the Ruby, though. We haven't seen it a whole lot in Wildcard. But I think it goes so well against some of the current meta. The Joy, you stop her for just a second.
Yeah.
The Khalid, you stop it for just a second. These big divey compositions, it can counter the Chow, anything, anything that wants to get in your face, it buys you just that split second of time to counterplay.
Yeah, split-second crowd control.
Yes.
The Ruby pick. I have my slight doubts about it because historically in the PH, when you see a Ruby going up against a Valentina's so happy because suddenly you have 3 set-up heroes on the side of SRG.
That's true.
Yeah. I think it has to be a physical damage dealer, and the time doesn't look too good because they already have Joy, right? They need some big physical damage for that lane. And the Granger! First ever Granger pick for Innocent too. I mean, not only the Joy, but the Granger as well.
I like it.
Big lane bully.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. It's definitely different. You mentioned cheese picks. You mentioned new picks.
Yep.
Is this it?
Here we go, the very first Swiss stage match. Let's toss it over to the casters.
Thank you so much to our amazing panelists. And the much anticipated first round of the Swiss stage is about to commence. To bring you the action, it's me, Brigitte, alongside Mirko. And off the top of your head, how are you feeling? Because we're about to witness all 16 teams play it out as early as day 1.
Hey, it's crazy. The Swiss stage, we've been talking about this, we've been hyping it up. And to have a big match like this, to start off the day, to start off Swiss stage, this will set the momentum. It's a best of 1 too. And that's why I feel like we can see the Granger here. We can see a lot of these cheese picks actually pop up.
Yep, honestly, this was really on script for SRG at least. We know that S2G, led by Sigibum, usually really doesn't go that much off meta, and he's sticking with the Bruno. But for Innocent, he's immediately showing us the Granger as early as the first game. So we'll see how this goes for both of these teams. Because if you were to ask me, looking at their draft as early as now, I think SRG were able to plan things out really well. They were able to set up a lot of gap closers in their lineup. And if ever they do be successful enough to overwhelm S2G with all those gap closers, Innocent from afar, he could just do all the free hits and he could just damage the members of S2G from afar.
Absolutely, man. So much poke, really, with the Decenata, with the Rhapsody, the new changes here. And as a gold lane, we've actually had a lot of discussions on the Granger pick itself. You know, does it do better in the jungle? Does it do better in the gold lane? And I think most of us actually agree that it does do better in the gold lane. You get free farm, get a lot of gold in the start, and it helps with the stacks. But Innocent, he actually goes for Purify. So this is also, I think, something that we can talk about for the Granger.
Instead, so you get to see an additional layer of sustainability perhaps for Innocent by the time he really wants to, or if S2G even attempts to go for him in the early stages of the game. But Selangor Red Giants, it does seem like they're actually preventing this brute force playstyle come out from S2G. We know for a fact that it's one of their specialties. They really want to force things out early on, but it's SRG.
Sky's already dashing forward. That's a good Terrify and a taunt down onto Begin. Krem walks up with the Terrify as well. Oh, Krem still able to get some damage down, but Begin still escapes with the Flicker. Great setup though for SRG. Stormy dies in the mid lane, gets the first blood under the tier 1, and that should be turtle number 1 for free.
Seriously, he didn't let him go. They needed to get that pick off. So S2G, right now, they're absolutely unable to contest for this turtle. And we're expecting that this is more of a rotation received from their side. It's an XP lane, which is more active in the early stages. But Kagu, he keeps to be the next target. And Stormy, though, he gets traded as well.
That's when I'm offended over to Yums too. I don't know about that trade now. Kram's gonna be walking forward. Kazoo dashes forward, gets the kill, and Kram going with the blaze round, gets frozen up, and gets CC down. SRG overextending after the turtle fight.
And I think that's one thing you really need to consider if you are SRG, because early on, I wouldn't doubt that they were already taking hold of the lead. They couldn't even, or S2G couldn't even pay much attention to Innocent or the other lanes. Kram, he could just freely rotate out of the XP lane and actively participate in the first few skirmishes we've seen. But this might actually backfire if they do not manage things well. S2G, if we were talking about SRG's ability to close the gap, S2G can do the same. They have high mobility heroes, and speaking of closing gaps, that's the Flicker forced out for Kram.
Yep. Already a big resource burned out there. 50 seconds for the turtle, so they have that resource already burnt out. It's great to deny those crazy engages. Lunar walks up, gets the I'm offended. It's a bit more poke over to Cram, who will just sustain back up on the Khalid. Here, though, for S2G, really seems like early on, maybe they didn't have those ultimates to fight with. But Turtle number 2 onwards, they should have these big ults that you were talking about.
Yep.
Frigid Glacier for Begin. There's also a risk that Stormy takes it, though. He's in the bush, gets the I'm offended over to Lunar. Now also Raging Sandstorm, great flicker for Lunar. Skies walks in, and Frigid Glacier will be able to stun him up. Skies brought back into the turret, poked down as well by Begin. And both teams will decide to disengage. 18 seconds for the Turtle to spawn in the game.
There's a team fight that happened once again right before this Turtle that we were talking about. And S2G Esports, it seemed like they really were able to adjust on the fly. They're taking things a little bit more slow because they know that either way, the most important aspects of their lineup, it's not really being noticed here by SRG as of now. Really, Sigiboom, he's just able to take his farm, and it might be this time that we see him also take part in the action.
Good retreat from Kazoo, good disengage from S2G. They know that SRG have a lot of CC, so they just go for the objective and bounce.
Yep. Right now, though, this might be the point where S2G gradually focus on the things they want to build up on, which is really Sigiboom, because at this point, if they really want to be more active in terms of the team fights and they really want to be more confident, then it might just be time that they really need to include their damage dealers. Because even though SRG, they've been really aggressive in the first few portions of the game, we saw how S2G is able to deny them of that. They're able to like interrupt these aggressive plays coming in from Selangor Giants whenever Lunar is part, whenever Begin uses a beautiful timing of the Frigid Glacier. So they really just need to complement it with enough damage and they get higher chances of turning things around.
There's just so much stakes here, you know, at play in the Land of Dawn currently. SRG playing in their hometown, trying to complete that golden road for S2G, trying to prove the world wrong that them winning MTC was a fluke. I think a lot of people still have that in their minds, you know, thinking that Ulfednar is the better team from Turkey. So far, they're going toe-to-toe against probably one of the world's best here, and it's all with, like you said, Sigiboom, getting the boom in him. Once he gets those item power spikes, it's going to be massive. This Bruno, there's a reason it was so heavily prioed in the Swiss, or sorry, in the wildcard, and all the way, I would say, even in ranked games, right? So easy to execute, and you can see the S2G at this point, they're really just stopping SRG's way to try to take turrets and snowball.
I agree, because this is the usual kind of Bruno gameplay you really witness, right? But wait, before that, speaking of the Bruno, Sigiboom.
Yep, this is all good for Sigiboom. He wants to go for those fights there. Has the Haas Claws, I believe. That's why he's able to sustain back up. And Turtle's going to be spawning up top. SRG tried to get Prio in the bottom lane, and now they're rotating.
Yep, but Pagu, you know, this roamer for S2G, the moment he came in, he really brought a lot of changes to S2G in the way they play their games, in the way they really adjust and explore some new strategies. We know them to only stick for the 4 Protect 1 strategy before, but now we're seeing how they can really just adjust on the fly, but Begin!
Passive already. Procced in, Begin will be able to flicker out, but again, big resource spent already. Cram will have to flicker too. That's another from Innocent, just trying to read out some of the positions from S2G. Cram heals back up.
Okay. Now Lunar, though, he goes in once more!
Right, I'm offended, and that's Raging Sandstorm that catches Begin in the back. Will be caught. Popped in Frigid Glacier earlier. Lunar's still there, and it's going to be free hitting for Sigiboom into there. Kazoo with the dive. Sky's taken down. Innocent still catting away as Kazoo goes in. Yum's isolated from the rest of the team, and Kazoo will double kill his way into a Turtle Prio. Stormy with a Terrify onto the midst of it all. Going for the guiding whip, but gets boomed down by Mr. Sigiboom. And Pagu, Innocent will be forced back on this Granger, and it's a win for S2G.
You would think that would have already worked for the Selangor Giants, but S2G, Lunar decided to pick a fight at the exact same time. They also had the resources, they had proper counter engage. Yums was also there, he was able to zone out enough members here from S2G Esports, but they seemed like they were just prepared to take on the fight that sustained. You can actually feel it from S2G, and it's not just that, it seems like they're able to capitalize a lot more on their innate mobility.
It's so crazy. We were talking about the range for Innocent too, but what he makes up for in range, I think he lacks damage. Innocent hasn't really been able to put on the damage onto S2G. Maybe this Granger pick was just not that good against healing. I feel like the Mathilda has really been able to help them out in these sticky situations, and we do have a pause, and we get to dissect the game even more. So let's talk about what's been happening here. I think for SRG, they really need to look for a snowball early. They had to. Unfortunately, they didn't get it, and their mid-game power spike it's kind of already fallen off. Like,
Yeah.
this mid game is getting controlled by S2G.
I think there was a clear attempt to do this, to do just that. We felt that there was a slight overextension towards that early game when we saw them really force the fights, even when they already got the pick off against the mid laner, and then before transitioning to the turtle. So it was somewhat of a very expensive mistake that happened, I feel, for SRG. It's really, they need to show a little bit more discipline this time around. I think a lot of teams have to be a lot more mindful of that, since, again, we're only seeing a best of ones happen all throughout the day. And they decided to go for this lineup, which is really, on paper, you see it, you expect it to be more aggressive. You expect them to hit their power spikes early on. This is a Joy that we're talking about. Husky mentioned it's one of the few times we're seeing Sekai's on the Joy, so you would probably expect somewhat of a unique approach from him, but then S2G seems like they're able to read through these plans from S2G or from SRG all along.
I agree with you completely. You know, it just feels like S2G have the read on SRG. They have the read on the aggression of SRG too. And maybe this is because, you know, they're scrim partners with Ulfedner. I don't know, but Ulfedner has had many encounters with SRG. MSC, they were knocked out by SRG. ISF, they were knocked out by Malaysia. So it almost seems like, you know, that could be something that they've told S2G, and right now they're capitalizing on all the aggressive movements.
Yep.
Well, maybe not the first one. Stormy got that first blood. Cheeky little Stormy play, as usual, as we expect from Stormy. But after that, the circling ego forward, the raging sandstorms very aggressively onto Sigiboom even. I think the targeting has been kind of off too for SRG, you know?
Yep.
Usually we see them very, very clean. I mean, for their engages and their discipline, this is still MSC SRG, I feel. You know, when it comes down to it, they're not a full discipline team. They are a team that is willing to take risks, but their targeting and team fighting is always just crisp clean.
I agree.
And I don't know if it's because of the pressure of playing in front of the home crowd or what, but the targeting hasn't been that clean.
Yep, we are seeing more of a one-track mind from S2G, I feel, in terms of like the targeting, who they want to prioritize first, heading into the team fights, or even just reacting to the team fights being set up here by SRG. But when for SRG, although maybe it's now that we could probably think about, is this much range still benefiting them? Because it seems like their team fights are slowly becoming all over the map. Like they have access to a lot of areas in the map. They can like jump in from afar, use the avatar of the Guardian, or perhaps even just use the Death Sonata from afar and even scout the enemies. But then could we see a more coordinated approach from SRG later on, knowing that they're already this behind in terms of like reaching their power spikes? And again, we've also mentioned, this isn't the typical Bruno early playstyle that you would really expect for the most part. Whenever we see the Bruno, you would expect the brute force playstyle come into play. Like they're just really gonna force and focus on a particular lane, taking out the energy shields, taking out the turrets, and then eventually transitioning from there. But now they're taking it really slow. They're just so patient. And it doesn't change the fact that Bruno is still a late game hero anyway. So by the time they just consistently be able to do these punishes, they can eventually get the upper hand if SRG doesn't do something.
That's why it's a fun topic to talk about here. You know, the Bruno being a mid to late game pick. Early game, you're also kind of a bully, right? That's what makes him such a prio pick right now. But when we're talking about gold lane and late game, Granger's technically late game too now, right? I mean, he stacks up, he gets way more ways to poke with Rhapsody and the Death Sonata as he stacks up later on, but it does seem like we're just going to get back into the game again. S2G are in the lead. SRG, do they have the late game power to actually play through these team fights?
Yep, they have a lot of AoE, if it's just that. But then you really have to see some extra work come in here from Sekai's as well as Innocent. So would Sekai's be reliable enough to deal with those heroes from S2G, which may be a little bit more hard to reach? And could Innocent deal enough damage for those heroes from S2G who are within reach, who will be like covered here and, I don't know, being like in the front lines whenever there's a team fight that happens later on? Because as we're seeing it right now, SRG, they're still able to take the trades nonetheless, and maybe it's this point in time where Sekai's begin saying that, oh, maybe we should be a little bit more careful and look for the trades for the meantime.
Yeah, that's the advantage that SRG definitely have with the Joy compared to the Suyo, who's really, I would say, better than neutral objectives, but when it comes to split pushing, it's going to be tough for S2G to actually send people down below. Pagu, you can see that poke damage from Innocent, and that's why we asked the question, is Granger a mid-game pick or a late-game pick? Because you can see that damage already build up. Pagu still able to heal up. Lunar goes to I'm offended over to Yums. The freeze as well, poking him down. Cram and trying to shot a bit more damage over to S2G, but both teams are just poking each other.
Yeah, definitely for SRG, this is the time they need to capitalize on their poking capabilities up against S2G Esports. We don't see as much sustain or in terms of like the tanky heroes from S2G as compared to SRG, so they definitely can take advantage of that. But once S2G decides for a commit, though that's the I am offended already used here, then SRG, they really need to be careful. But as we're seeing it right now, they're slowly getting hold of what to do during this Lord Dance.
You can see the poking game that we were mentioning in the early game for Innocent. It's happening here in the mid-game. It's Yasumai the Stormy gets an I'm offended over to 2. Innocent guns him down. The combo in the back is a Raging Sandstorm and an AOG. That's a double. And Selangor Red Giants, they are finally online in the 10th minute of the game.
They have enough ways to scout for the members of S2G, and it seems like the plan is to take them by surprise. What a play from Stormy there, catching 2 members, 2 crucial members. And once you take out all of the frontliners, then that's easier access for Sekai's and for the rest of the members to just take out the remaining members of S2G. Let's check out that instant replay right there. Look at Stormy. Look at Stormy. And even when there was a beautiful usage of the Frigid Glacier, it was a bit too late. They had no other resources to prevent the aggression from the other members of SRG.
There you go. That's SRG. Or was that the first few minutes? Man, SRG, we were talking about it, the targeting was not it. And then they just had to adapt in on the go, right? They just had to, I would say, yeah, adapt and get used to the pressure they are feeling here in as the hosts. And they're here with it. It's a Lord in the mid lane charging down as a Holy Defense already procced in. SRG utilizing Innocent's range.
Wow.
Poke them down. Lunar's half HP. The defense is still good. They are able to get rid of it. Innocent, though, is cutting them down. He has a Datsunada. One more shot. Lunar low. The photo saves Pagu and Lunar, and they're forced back in their own base.
That was so aggressive from Innocent. I mean, they had an idea. There's still no flicker for Lunar, so there won't be any surprise setups just yet. But there's the circling eagle.
So Pagu is trying to run away. The Datsunada hits, but he still is able to escape with the guiding win, and S2G defend. No base turrets taken down.
All right, so S2G, they're still able to defend this in some ways. But SRG, it seems like this was the moment they've been waiting for. Now that S2G might just be gradually trapped in a certain area in the map, SRG, they can play around things a lot more. They have, again, I kept mentioning the Avatar of the Guardians, but they also had the Raging Sandstorm. And as long as they are able to prevent Lunar from doing his job of being the first one to take SRG by surprise, or even preventing and interrupting these attempts from SRG, then there seems to be no problem anymore. They just need to force out the necessary skills that S2G keep on capitalizing for the counter engages, and then there's nothing stopping them from being too aggressive against S2G.
And at this point, I think for S2G, the game plan is we're just going to try to out-sustain you in the fights or get a massive combo. But SRG are never, or should never actually commit to a full fight unless Innocent gets some trades, right? He shoots them from afar, gets them really low, or there's a neutral objective to fight for, then they would go in. But here, they're just going to utilize that range that we were talking about, and man, Innocent, Pagu, now where he's feeling it. Now he's feeling that damage.
I'm pretty sure SRG, they're just trying to be disciplined at this point, but at the same time, still putting themselves out there, trying to make their dominance felt here against S2G. And even in terms of gold, the gold laners, you can already see just how ahead Innocent is. He's already fulfilled on the Ranger, which explains the damage that Pagu himself cannot even sustain.
Now, it gets really concerning for S2G because they do not have catch that can actually go for Innocent. And if you do dive in, you're going to be caught by all the sustain. Lunar's low again. Every single time you walk on a base, that's a circling eagle. This very aggressive Pagu. He goes away. Cram Raging Sandstorm and the flicker to read him out. Pagu in the skies, doesn't even matter.
He was able to set up for an anticipated guiding wind dash towards that area, But even then, he flickered towards Pagu, taking out that short pickoff. And now S2G Esports, this might just be an attempt from SRG to again commit a team fight. But they walk safely towards their tier 3 and force out the Frigid Glacier as well from Lunar.
It's a bait, or a trade rather. Innocent with the flicker, or sorry, Purify, baited out by the Frigid Glacier there. Still think for SRG though, they're just going to take it slow, right? There's no reason for them to actually push in. And even though Innocent uses Purify, it's a safety net that you lose out. But when it comes to the siege, you're never really going to be in a position where you should be caught, right? You have so much range, and they're just going to use this with Innocent on it. Let's see how they manipulate these waves. Is it going to be a 3-wave push, or are they going to take it slow? It seems like it will just be a 3-wave push. They're looking for possibly the end.
Yep, and this mid lane turret won't last for long. S2G Esports, they might have a difficulty trying to defend this. I don't know if they want to look for a play still, given this much of a gold lead in the hands of SRG. But they're only able to take out one inhibitor turret so far, and there are other waves coming in, but they will have time to defend these incoming waves from SRG. So it seems like even for SRG, they're not trying to force things just yet. They're actually quite scattered around the map, and they're probably waiting for more information regarding S2G. They do not want to force team fights in areas where S2G might have higher chances of turning things around, but uses the Avatar of the Guardians to get away, and oh no!
Yeah, Sky is overextending, but it becomes a pretty good trade, in my opinion, right? Despite Sky's getting taken down, he did get a few hits there, and it's a base turret in the bottom lane, which is a far lane. There are no objectives for the next 30 seconds, so S2G getting the kill, trading in for a turret is actually worth it for SRG.
Yep. They're now becoming a little more aggressive. They get out of their base, and Kazoo might gradually be able to get hold of his buffs once again. But that doesn't mean that SRG will be backing out anytime soon. Scram still shows himself out there. Oh, Kazoo gets caught!
That's a runner crown. Stormy gonna be caught in I'm offended too. Able to flicker out to safety as a Frigid Glacier gets placed down. Stormy! Boom down. Sigiboo still doing some damage. Dodging away from the Detonata as Kazoo dives in onto Yums. 40 seconds still. There are no objectives for S2G to take. So SRG losing out some of these members is still okay, unless they go for these turrets and siege it down. That's a tier 1, almost falling. Sigiboo needs a few more shots in. Innocent can't walk up. Oh! If that was a crit, it could have been different. Innocent surviving just barely, will walk away. 27 seconds for the Lord.
And it seems like they're gradually evening out the map. Mirko, this wasn't the scenario we've seen earlier. Even Crab, he's being the recipient of the damage from Sigiboom. And they take him out 13 seconds right before this next Lord, this level 2 Lord, this enhanced Lord. Or maybe we could wait, they could take the evolved Lord even.
Now that's gonna hurt. SRG losing Skies, losing Stormy. It was all still in the time frame of the Lord not spawning yet. But losing Cram, that's your main initiator. Sky's gonna be stunned up now as Pagu walks up. Sky's no more dashes. Once you get cancelled, it's gonna be tough. It's Sky's dying. Pagu gets the final hit as he fade away, takes the kill. And Kazoo dealt with the Lord. Now he's occupying this bush. SRG, good read with Innocent popping into that Sonata. But now it's an enhanced Lord for S2G.
Why did it feel like, even though SRG had the range, they really found it difficult to commit the team fights when S2G were being extra careful under their base. And now that they're outside, they're being more aggressive than ever. One another! I'm offended!
And a Frigid Glacier too. Good disengage from Yomes. Innocent still in the midst of it all. Popping a Death Sonata. Trying to poke them away, but up top, how low is it? That's a base turret. Taken down. STG still have the Lord, by the way. That siege was only just the minions. They are slowly pushing the wave in the bottom lane, and the reason they can actually slowly build this wave. Oh, Lunar goes in for the big play. Doesn't connect. Raging Sandstorm! A flank Lunar. Caught in the midst of it all. Kazoo zoning the back line away as Pagu is able to get the circle. Ego to actually peel for Sigibum, who's so free hitting. Kazoo gets the unstoppable. The Frigid Glacier comes in. Sigibum going for the crits. Innocent still using that range, dashing away from the arrow. S2G wants to continue the siege.
That was a beautiful attempt from Crown, but S2G, they were prepared. Kazoo blocking the other members of SRG from joining the team fight, and now they're still together with their Lord. They will be able to take out all the remaining inhibitor turrets, and could this be it for SRG?
Oh, the snipe down from Kazoo! Innocent forced back into the base! A massive...
our panel was mentioning the possibility of an upset, and who would have thought we're seeing it as soon as game number 1? This is S2G, this is SRG, and we knew we were starting the day strong, but this strong?
You really put the boom in Siggy Boom. S2G, the team that was touted.
What an adjustment from S2G. We gotta ask our panel to break things down for us.
Okay, well, if you are
What the
doubting our
hell?
nomination at the Game Awards, this is Mobile Legends Bang Bang Esports. This is the drama of our scene. Husky, Brief, Brother, as S2G, led by the Turkish trigger man, Siggy Boom. They've done it. They've opened up Swiss by upsetting SRG.
You know what, as much as I'm heartbroken with this loss, it is just the best of one. It's still first round Swiss stage, but I did mention the possibility, right, that S2G can be SRG. And as much as I don't want to happen, you know, the crowd is watching me right now, but it has happened. And everything that that Trek say came true. We talk about the Bruno, we talk about Siggy Boom, and Siggy Boom really just blasted